So this one's going to be slightly off topic. No books, well, kind of books, adjacent to books, but we'll get there. But yeah, apparently the Buffy the Vampire Slayer relaunch isn't happening. And look, I don't think I'd be sitting here in 2026 talking about a Buffy reboot that got quietly shelved because people didn't like the pilot. But here we are. That's the timeline we're in, people. I'm Darth James. I've talked about Buffy before, and they are members only Patreon content, but they are worth checking out. The first one is public on this channel if you want to find it. And I'm a huge Buffy nerd. That's why I'm talking about this. And we will be talking about some books. Don't worry, people. The books will be coming. But remember, like, subscribe, and if you want to check out the Patreon, Substack, and membership stuff, you can. So let's get into it. I read the script. The script leaked online. And it's one of those, it's floating around the internet, if you know where to look, situations, and a lot of it is on very mainstream places right now. And I don't know how else to explain it other than it fell off. Like, immediately off. Not even halfway through. It was page 2. Page 2, I was already sitting there going, this doesn't feel like Buffy. And that's the weird thing, right? Because Buffy, the original, was never about being flashy. It was never trying to impress you of how clever it was every second. It just was. The characters felt like people. The dialogue felt like people talking. Even when they were talking about demons, vampires, the end of the world, and the occasional screw up in the magic shop. It still somehow felt grounded. And the script, everything felt placed. Like every line had a job, every moment had a message, every character introduction felt like it came with a checklist. There was no space to just exist. And that's the thing that kept bugging me the whole time. Nothing felt particularly organic. It felt like someone trying to replicate Buffy rather than understand why Buffy worked in the first place. And here's the bit that really threw me off. Buffy doesn't show up until the last page. Now, I get that. You want to build anticipation, you want to introduce new characters, you want to have those conversations, but this is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, not mysterious new Slayer who will eventually meet Buffy. If you're gonna bring it back, don't hide the thing people came for. And while I was reading it, I kept thinking about something that kept just creeping into modern writing. This need to explain everything. Like, everything has to be said out loud. There's no subtext, no reading between the lines, no trusting the audience. Just constant talking heads dialogue. That's what I call it, talking head dialogue, where characters explain who they are, what they feel, and what they represent, and what the theme is. And you're just sitting here like, yeah, I got it the first time. Buffy never did that. Say what you want about Joss Whedon, but my god, that man can write. And actually all the writing staff behind Buffy. It let moments breathe. It let characters be messy. It let conversations feel unfinished sometimes, like real conversations do. This script didn't do that. It felt like it was afraid of the silence. And then there's the continuity stuff. Now look, I'm not saying you have to be a full-on Buffy nerd like me, but also, yes, I'm saying that because Sunnydale. Why are we rebuilding Sunnydale? How are we rebuilding Sunnydale? The place wasn't just damaged, it was gone. Like, crater, massive hole, end of the world, kind of gone. Watch that final episode. You just can't go, let's fill in a giant hole and rebuild it, don't worry about it. No explanation, no weight, no sense of this was a huge event. And this kind of mismatch between this new Sunnydale and old Sunnydale, but old Sunnydale shouldn't exist. And that kind of thing, it kind of pulled me out instantly. And here's a part that I think people either forget or choose to ignore. We already got a continuation. I talked about them on Patreon and here for members. The graphic novels, the comics. They exist. They continued the story, and honestly, they're pretty damn good. They take risks, they explain the world, they explore the world. They do things that you could never do on television at the time because of budget. They also do some weird stuff, but it still feels like Buffy. It feels like a natural expansion of that universe. So when I read this reboot script, I couldn't help thinking, why are we doing this again? What are we adding? And I think that ties into something bigger. Not everything needs to come back. And I know that sounds obvious, but clearly it isn't. Because we keep doing this. Every few years there's another attempt to revive something that's already had a proper ending. And Buffy had a great ending. Like a real ending. Not leave it open just in case. Not, we might come back to this. No, it ended. And it said what it needed to say and it left. And there's something kind of nice about that, because not everything needs to be an ongoing, continued forever. Some things are allowed to just exist in their time. Buffy represents a very specific time. And I love it because of that. And while we're here, quick rant, because I'm me. If you're going to rewatch Buffy, don't stream it. I'm serious, the HD remaster, it's rough. You can see the edges of the set, you can see cast and crew, extras waiting to be queued, cameramen, mics, shots are cropped, lighting looks like they've stripped away the original filters. It loses that late 90s, early 2000s atmosphere that made it feel like, well, Buffy. If you can, grab it on DVD. They're not expensive and they actually look like the show you remember. The show was never designed for widescreen. So yeah, the reboot is not happening, and I'm not mad about it. If anything, I'm kind of relieved. Because if we're going to bring something like Buffy back, you have to understand what made it work. Not just the surface level stuff, slayers, vampires, quippy dialogue. But the tone, the pacing, the trust in the audience, because we are far more intelligent than you would realise. The way it let characters just be people. If you can't do that, maybe it's okay to leave it alone. That's being real. Some things are just meant to end. And honestly, sometimes the best way to revisit something you love is to go back and watch it again. No reboots, no reimagining, no modern audience, just the thing itself, exactly as it was. Anyway, bit of a different video, I know, bonus video, but I wanted to talk about it. But let me know if you read the script. Even if you wanted this reboot in the first place. Also, be honest. Are we at the point where we're just rebooting things out of habit? Because it kind of feels like we are at this point.